is the way. This is the way.
If you're looking for fault in anything, usually you're going to find it, but if you're willing to let the story take you on an adventure, the ride is worth the price of admission. So let's get into Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Before we get into it, if you're a fan of our videos, please like our content and subscribe to the channel. It really does help us out and gives us the opportunity to create more content for you. Okay, let's get into it. Spoiler-free time! If you're on the fence or disheartened by the critics' reviews of this movie, I would tell you to see it for yourself. Personally, I didn't find the 48% on Rotten Tomatoes to be accurate, and as you can see, audience score is at an 84%. For me, I felt like the MCU has been on a downward spiral, but this movie manages to hit the brakes on that, and surprisingly, I'm actually optimistic for the future of the MCU. For me, this was a fun ride filled with levity and some of the best performances out there from our side characters. It introduces us to one of the best antagonists that we have ever gotten in the MCU. Paul Rudd is a joy, and Jonathan Majors, as reported, gives us an incredible performance as Kang. So if you enjoyed the last two Ant-Man movies, I do believe you'll enjoy this movie. I think if you also like Star Wars or Guardians of the Galaxy, you'll also feel right at home with this movie. If you're looking for a serious installment to the MCU, I think you'll find this movie to not be your cup of tea. For me, my favorite movie in the MCU is, and always will be probably, The Winter Soldier, because of how serious it took the material, giving us a highly intriguing, almost real-world story in the MCU. That is not what we get in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. These are different films and different stories altogether, and to me, each has its place in the growing tapestry of the Marvel Universe. So for this spoiler-free section, I'm going to give this movie 2 thumbs up. It's worth going to the movies to see, and I think most of you are going to enjoy this on the big screen. For parents out there though, there is a bit of language in this movie, so be warned if you take your kiddos if you're not okay with that sort of thing. Okay, let's dive into the spoiler section.
You've taken your first step into a larger world.
So I'm not going to go through a play-by-play for this review. I'm going to just highlight a few things, and if you want to go further down the rabbit hole, check out Not Your Status Quo and join them live this Monday for a full discussion. So the movie was once again directed by Peyton Reed, and this installment was written by Jeff Loveness. Now, I hadn't heard about this screenwriter before, but I looked him up, and he's worked on Jimmy Kimmel Live and Rick and Morty, and this is actually his first feature film debut. Now, first off, I gotta highlight Michael Douglas reprising his role as Hank Pym. He had some of the best moments, and he definitely had his time to shine in this movie. I love that he had to deal with the fact that his wife Janet had an old fling in the quantum realm and that he dated someone else himself. And at the end, having him play an active role in bringing down Kang with the help of the smart ants, Hank got his quintessential moment as Ant-Man, and I love this. I love that Michelle Pfeiffer got a chance to develop her character of Janet Van Dyne in this movie, and really this was more of her story than either Scott Lang's or Hope. The de-aging in the beginning of this film was next level, and it looked amazing. And as we find out Janet discovered the recently exiled Kang, it was a perfect opening, and the visuals of the quantum realm were beautiful. It all looked amazing. Janet's our through line, and throughout the story as she reveals what she did, it definitely outlines that it's often difficult to understand the right choices. It was amazing to see Janet realize how destructive a force Kang was when she glimpsed his memory and making the hard choice of not returning to her family so she didn't unleash this evil into the multiverse. And then there's Bill Murray, who played Lord Kryler, and I was extremely impressed with his range. He was able to not only be funny, but really bring the tone down to a serious note as he established what Janet had done in leaving the quantum realm and leaving everyone to suffer under Kang. It was a stellar cameo by Bill Murray, and it was awesome to get to see him in this film. Paul Rudd, man, you just can't help but enjoy his performance as Scott Lang. He does such a good job at balancing the funny with the serious moments, and his relationship with Cassie was endearing. Especially being a father myself, when he began splitting apart to get and shrink the multiversal power core, the one thing that each version of Scott could agree on was that they needed to rescue Cassie, and I totally understand that. I did think going into this movie that we were going to see more of a struggle with Scott losing all those years with Cassie and being tempted with getting that time back. This would have been an interesting element to explore. As a parent, losing all that time with your child and getting that time back would have added to the story and the struggle that we see. So let's talk about Cassie. In the original Ant-Man and Ant-Man and the Wasp, Cassie was actually played by Abby Ryder Fortston, and in Avengers Endgame, for the aged up version, Cassie was played by Emma Furman. And now for this movie, Catherine Newton has stepped into the role, and I feel like she did a good job with giving us the core of Cassie, even though I would have preferred them bring back Emma Furman for consistency's sake. Cassie kind of played the Uncle Ben role in this movie in Scott Lang's life. They all have these amazing powers and they need to be doing something for the common good with them. Cassie sees her father on the sideline and she's very antsy, pun intended, to be a hero. I love that she gives us a great new quote as she is able to convince MODOK that it's never too late to stop being, well, you know. Speaking of MODOK, we do find out that it's indeed Darren Cross from the first movie. His body was deformed from shrinking down, and with Kang, he became MODOK and helped him build his empire. Now, this was an interesting way to develop and bring this character to life from the comics. Now, I didn't find his look to be all that appealing, and it just looked a little off, but honestly, I don't know how you'd bring a character of MODOK to life in a way that didn't look funny. He was not in the movie a lot, and honestly, I think that the story could have been done without him. Then there's Kang. We gotta talk about Kang, played to perfection by Jonathan Majors. The critics were definitely not wrong about the high caliber of acting that we got from him. He was a presence in this movie, and as soon as we see him on screen, he's able to steal the show. It's funny because he's able to bring a gentleness to the character and makes you question whether or not our heroes are doing the right thing, keeping him from escaping. Even Scott is questioning his choice by the end of the movie. The sheer power and presence of the character is an awe to behold, and knowing we'll see Kang in future MCU projects makes me wonder how our heroes, like the Avengers, can stand against the multitude of Kang variants out there, which we actually get to see in the first end credit scene. So one of the plot points that I had to chew on for a while was the fact that throughout the movie, I kept wondering why they didn't just use the blue pin particles to grow and get out of the quantum realm. Now, given some time after the film, I think I have a good reason for why they didn't, besides the story dictating that they couldn't. Here's my theory, guys. In the first Ant-Man, Scott is the first person to return from the quantum realm after shrinking down, then using the blue pin particles to expand out. In Quantumania, they mentioned that Cassie's satellite device to view the quantum realm requires a ping to be sent down. Now, in the first Ant-Man, Scott hears Cassie's voice. So to me, I think that Cassie was the anchor point and that the only way he was able to get out of the quantum realm was because of his connection to Cassie. This idea is actually further developed in Ant-Man and the Wasp, when Janet has to take over Scott's body and talk to Hank and Hope. Then they get a lock on her position in the quantum realm. So without this type of connection, since all of our main characters were down in the quantum realm, they couldn't get out and return to the exact reality that they came from. So it was awesome to get to see the last end credits with a variant of Kang, Victor Timely, along with Loki and Mobius, clearly setting up season 2 of the Disney Plus series Loki. So to be fair, this film did have its issues, but the good far outweighed the bad, and you could tell from the production to the performances, everyone was bringing their best to this project, unlike some of the other Marvel projects we have seen lately. That's why this definitely felt like a good entry to me. I was sad that we didn't get to see some of our returning cast in this movie, such as Luis, whose presence was definitely missed. It would have been amazing and pretty awesome to see him down in the quantum realm and dealing with all these crazy situations. And I miss Judy Greer as Cassie's mom, Gail. I felt like she could have at least shown up at the end of this, or in the beginning when Cassie was in jail. All in all, I very much enjoyed this movie. The plethora of fun-looking creatures in the quantum realm gave this a new depth, and I hope we get to explore more of the quantum realm in the future. It was a fun ride, so for my rating, I'm giving this an 8 out of 10. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed this movie as much as I did, and it was a blast to cover for you guys. So thanks for joining me today on Fatherly Fandom, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And from our families to yours, have a good one, and may the Force be with you.